Shut up and sit down.
On the first digital hash bash. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Hash Bash himself, the guy who emceed this event for over 20 years, who emceed the regular event for over 20 years, Adam Brook. Hey, Adam, what's happening?
I'm here. My video's on.
Floors.
You know, technical difficulties with a digital hash bash. That's to be expected. A bunch of stoners putting something like this together. It's a phenomenal thing. You know, this certainly isn't hash bash. This isn't the same fuck you to the man that many of us are used to putting together. And certainly that cause will still happen. But I personally appreciate the fact that all these people have gotten together to put this together so that the folks at home can participate, can have safe access. You know, this will be the first year that there will be 0 guaranteed arrests at the hash bash. Guaranteed 0 arrests.
We may speak too soon on that. We may speak too soon. There might be a couple rebels out there and they get a ticket for coronavirus.
But my point is that's not hash bash. This is the digital hash bash. Okay. So the reason I'm here is because I like to keep the record straight. I've been involved in this. I actually just looked it up. 1988 was the first year I was involved. Some of you people weren't alive in 1988. The concept of having an event where people show up and have a smoke-in and a protest is something that it has been needed for a long time. And hash bash happens every year. It's known around the world. Now, in the last 30 years, weed has exploded. So now these things are more commonplace. And you have things like the Seattle Hemp Fest, and you have things like the Boston Freedom Rally. And you have things like 420 in Denver and shit that many of us think is ridiculous, but it exists. And there was a time when none of it existed but hash bash. And people know about hash bash. All over the world, they know about hash bash. And there's a number of reasons for that. The main reason is the media, which has been our enemy the whole time, has blown this event up like you wouldn't believe. Back when this event first started, and there were state senators coming and smoking a joint on the diag, and the media blew that up. That gave it a little bump. And then in the 80s, when High Times got involved, things had kind of died out. High Times got involved, showed up, boom, gave it another bump. Then we got into the fuel, food, fiber, and medicine and politics, and that gave it another bump. In the meantime, the event itself has a persona that's much greater than its reality. There are people that show up at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon in Ann Arbor on Hash Bash Saturday, and they walk around and they tell you they were at Hash Bash. The problem is they weren't at Hash Bash. Hash Bash historically was a 1-hour rally that took place on the 1st of April. The reason we moved it to Saturday was so that we would get bigger crowds. That was the beginning of the commercialization of Hash Bash. It was about the crowd that we could get there. Now we've gotten to the point where this event has gotten so large that we have other events that happen on the same day as Hash Bash. The Monroe Street Fair has exploded and become this massive all-day event. People show up at the Monroe Street Fair and they think they were at Hash Bash. That's how big this has become over the years. There are people, I get phone calls about Hash Bash all year round. I get people that will call me and ask me, Well, I see you've listed Hash Bash as Saturday, April 4th. When did you change it from 420? And I chuckle because 420 is a modern incarnation that was promoted by a bunch of people in order to, I don't know, out themselves, because that's all it does. Everybody knows 420 is a weed thing, and everybody knows that if you're using 420, it means you're a weed guy. I guess that's the norm now. But back when I was starting, man, you had to hide out. Bikers, for instance, used to wear a number 13 patch on their jacket if they were into weed. Because, well, if you don't know what 13 means, I ain't going to tell you. How about that? We keep that for ourselves. The point is, we've become the modern, not so much modern. The modern version of Hash Bash has become this thing that is so big that this digital aspect event that we're doing, this will take us into the next millennium, because we've already discussed that next year there will be a digital component to Hash Bash. This can easily be done live from the diag and broadcast over the internet. Years ago, we tried to do it with FM radios when the university wouldn't give us a permit for sound. We showed up with an FM transmitter, batteries, and we had radios in the crowd, and we did our own little local broadcast. This takes it to the next level, and I'm happy that I was asked to participate. And in all fairness, at the beginning, I poo-pooed it, and I said I wanted nothing to do with it. And the last thing I want is anything to do with any commercialization of Hash Bash and sponsors and all that. But I smoked a joint, I thought about it, and I realized that this is an option. This digital Hash Bash is an option. The government has prevented us from gathering. There's nothing we can do about that right now. The governess just increased it to $1,000 fine. Me and my people weren't showing up risking $1,000 fine. I was there on the 1st, though, because some of us show up every April 1st at high noon to smoke our joint. And I was there on the 1st, and we had a couple people there. I won't name names because they shouldn't be outed, but the cop showed up, and he was all good. He was like, hey, as long as you don't have a big crowd, you're all right. I said, I'm more concerned about Saturday. Well, come to find out, they're posted up on the diag. They're not allowing any crowds at all. And that makes this the best alternative we could have ever wanted. That, and I didn't have to get up at 8 o'clock this morning to deal with Hash Bash.